Thanks for joining us on Homecoming. It's a little bit different than we normally get to do, and we would love to see everybody in person again, and hopefully next year we are back in person. So my name is Chris Burt, and I'm the Advancement Services Manager. Bobby Harris is with me. She's the Executive Assistant, Administrative Assistant. We'll be assisting Annika Marquez today as she presents her favorite things from archives. Just a quick housekeeping note. If you have not, please mute your microphone and disable your video. And actually, Annika and I are also going to disable our video so that the presentation is best for everybody. So we will go ahead and do that now. And we want to thank everyone for participating today. Like I said, I really hope that we are able to do this in person next year. So if you've had the opportunity to see the special collections at St. Ambrose, it is fascinating and always can learn something about our history. So we were able to pivot and kind of make this a virtual event and hopefully reach more people that are able to then just come back to campus. So I'm going to introduce Annika. She is the university archivist and has been with St. Ambrose for 6 years. And in her role, she's charged with protecting the history of the university and sharing it with others. So as you can imagine, Annika has many interesting items in her collection, and she's generously compiled her top 10 unique items for us today, and we'll share a little bit more about their history. So Annika, take it away.
Hello, thank you for that wonderful introduction and for having me today. I am happy to be part of this homecoming celebration, even if it does look a little different this year. That's okay. In fact, I'm hoping it will give many of you the chance to see the SAU archives who otherwise wouldn't be able to do so. I've rounded up a few of my favorite things from the collection to share with you. I have taken photos or scans of these objects to provide you with a high-quality visual through this live virtual platform. I really want you to be able to see the objects, not just a blurry screen. I hope that serves as a good substitute until we can meet in person. Food and drinks aren't normally allowed in the archives, but since this is a virtual tour, go ahead and grab a coffee or snack. Enjoy the comforts of your home while touring the SIU archives. Let's get started. The Ambrose Room serves as the entrance and reading room for archives and special collections. There is plenty of space for visitors to look at materials and work on their research. They are under constant supervision, as this is also where my office is located. You might notice all of the squirrels in the windowsills and the one on my desk. I love squirrels. Most of us know that campus is home to 3 different types of squirrels. I like to say that squirrels are my spirit animal, not just because they're cute and spastic. Squirrels collect nuts and save them for the winter. That's my job. I collect history and I store or preserve it for the future. If you want to talk more about squirrels, give me a call. Let's head deeper inside my lair. Behind us is a door that takes us into the hidden world of the archives. The first thing you will notice when entering the archives is the large, beautiful workspace. Look at that center island with drawers on all sides. Ample counter space all around. This is where all the action happens, from processing collections to pulling materials for research. This is also where I have class visits. This is sacred space. At the end of every workday, all projects are put away so the space is clean and ready to go for the next day. One of my favorite features of the space is the sink. I do a lot of hand washing, not just because of COVID. It's best practice to handle archival material, photographs, and artifacts with clean, dry hands. Having a sink right there makes my job so much easier. It's the little things in life, right? Another great feature of the workspace is the touchscreen scanner with a good-sized flatbed. That scanner is the real workhorse here. I would like to remind everyone that we are still taking research requests, and we will happily scan our findings and send them your way. All you have to do is ask. Normally, I have 2 to 3 interns and student workers each semester. There are computers in there for them to use. These guys can be found cataloging objects, creating inventories for collections, completing research requests, and otherwise assisting me with various tasks. This is an overview of collection storage. She's a beauty, isn't she? But she's much prettier in real life. The archives collects anything related to the history of the university, including our students, faculty, and staff. That means we have a lot of materials in this room. We have documents, artifacts, and anything that the university publishes. That includes newspapers, magazines, catalogs, and of course, yearbooks. I would like to take a moment to tell you about a project that we are working on. Slowly but surely, we are digitizing the yearbook collection. This is a time-consuming project and everything needs to be just right. But I'm happy to report that over half of the yearbooks are available online and they're text searchable. You should definitely take some time to check it out. But back to the tour. Special Collections is also housed within the archives. Special Collections consists of books about St. Ambrose, the saint, and his contemporaries, and St. Ambrose, the institution. Here, us. We also collect materials written by St. Ambrose faculty, staff, students, and alumni. That's you. So if you've written a book, please let me know. Some of you might have noticed the safe. Don't get too excited. There's nothing interesting in there, just petty cash for the library. Not even enough to buy lunch. The books in Special Collections are housed in the archives for safekeeping. Some are fragile, rare, or really old. This brings us to our first poll question. What do you think is the oldest object in the collection? Please type your answers in the chat box to the right. I can't wait to see what you guys guess. Don't worry, you're not being graded. Go ahead, take a guess.
Someone guessed 100 years.
Oh, 100 years old? Nope, that's a baby. That's a young object. Think older. Ooh, blueprints from Davis Hall? Ooh, that would be pretty old, but not old enough. Are you guys tired of guessing? You give up? Ready for the answer? Something from Milan? Ooh, no.
Milan, I'm sure.
Milan, St. Ambrose of Milan. Sorry, not Milan down the road. Ooh, okay, you're getting really warm. The oldest object in the room belongs in Special Collections. It is a book about St. Augustine from 1529. It is written in Latin. You can see that it's had some better days. The front board has been detached and it has split in half. Oh no, the poor thing. But that's why it is in this room. Our goal is to protect it from further damage. Of course, it is still available for access for anyone that wants to see it. This book frequently receives visitors because of its age. Everyone wants to see the oldest book in the collection. This is a great example for our book art students because it is handmade paper. You can see the chain and ley lines, which is really interesting, for me anyway. One of the other unique features about this book is that students used it to practice translation. You can see their handwriting just above the original text. You can also see some doodling in red pen. Some things just don't change, and this book is an example of that. The oldest object in the collection question has two parts. We just solved the oldest object in special collections, but what about the oldest object in the archives? Remember, the archives collects anything that relates to the history of St. Ambrose, this institution, which means if you know our very early history and the oldest materials in the archives would date around 1882, our founding year, and you would be correct. We have several documents from 1882. One example would be this ledger for cash accounts. Its partner, not picture, has a list of students that attended. This is a great historical record of the happenings on campus in the early years. So we were pretty close when we were discussing about buildings and blueprints because those would be the earliest buildings on campus. So we were close. But anyway, I have a few more old things I would like to show you. I'm kind of excited about this one. I don't get these out very often because they're really old, small, and rare. We have some academic medals from the early years of St. Ambrose. Honor students that performed well in their academics were awarded gold medals at the commencement ceremony. Their achievements were then published in the catalogs. Awards were given to best essays in catechism, rhetoric, and history. Local priests donated these medals. This medal was presented to W.B. McDonough for elocution in 1888. Here's another one for English composition awarded to John N. Adam in 1896. He also received honor medals in the classics and rhetoric class. Look at the detail on that. Stunning, don't you think? You will notice that both medals, that they are hand engraved. You can see why these are a treasure in our collection and worthy of being on my favorite things list. The next item on my list is a painting by Father Kadich. For those of you that didn't know Father Kadich, he was a true Renaissance man, priest, and art instructor at St. Ambrose. He even taught engineering for a brief period of time. Time for another poll question. How many of you were in one of Father Kadich's art classes? Let us know in the chat box, and feel free to share a story about Father Kadich too. I love reading the stories that people submit. All right. Go ahead. Let us know if you were in his class or not. Do we have anyone that was in Father Kadich's art classes? Oh, this is nice. He knew the name of every student by heart. Saw him around campus rarely. Yeah, that's because he was always in his studio, always doing something, always working on a project. Had a survey of art class. It was a required class. Great. Thank you for sharing, everyone. Father Kadich's artistic skills were quite varied. In addition to his slates, rubbings, broadsides, calligraphy inscriptions, he created a vast collection of watercolors. Here, we see one of my favorite pieces he created during his time in Italy. This painting depicts the Basilica of San Ambrogio, a church in Milan named after our patron saint. But something else might catch your eye. The hut-shaped facade and those arches look a bit familiar. The SAU library building was modeled off the Basilica of San Ambrogio. You can see that the architects borrowed the iconic arches and mimicked the structure of the building. A few years after the library was built, the tower was added, creating a striking resemblance. Speaking of the library, many of you remember that the library used to be housed in McMullen, formerly known as the Library Administration Building. Since McMullen is currently wrapping up a large construction project, I thought today would be a good time to explore some photos and learn a little bit of the building's history. In 1939-1940, there were only 3 buildings on campus: Ambrose Hall, Davis, and Lewis. It was risky to think about a new construction project when the college had so much debt. The Great Depression was not kind to enrollment numbers at the time, but St. Ambrose needed more space to grow, so it was decided to continue with the plans for a new library administration building. In order to build on the corner of Gaines and Locust, several houses were purchased and then torn down. After the site was cleared, construction began in September of 1940. On October 24, 1941, the new Library Administration Building was dedicated. United States Postmaster General James A. Farley was the principal speaker of the day. Oh, that seems like a really random choice for a speaker. For my stamp collectors out there, perhaps you are familiar with Farley's Follies, a set of preprints that caused scandal and protest in the stamp collecting world? No? Nothing? No one? Okay, well, prior to him being Postmaster General, he was President Roosevelt's campaign manager. He was a busy guy, and it was nice of him to stop by our little ceremony. And while he was here, we conferred upon him an honorary degree because he loved books and in recognition of his highly capable, generous devotion to public service. This referred to all of the work he did for the Works Progress Administration and the New Deal coalition of Catholics, labor unions, African Americans, and farmers. So he sounds like our kind of guy. Guess this really wasn't a random choice after all. Let's take a look inside. The library was located on the second floor of the building, with the reading room on one half, that would be the North Davis Hall side, and the stacks on the other half, and in the middle was the circulation desk. Administration was housed on the north half of the first floor. This included offices of the president, vice president, registrar, academic dean, and business manager. In the southeast corner, there was a large conference room. In 1948, the north half of the basement housed the first beehive. It had green and red floor tiles with a yellow ceiling, which sounds pretty garish and awful. I'm glad I don't have any color photos of that. Well, actually, I wish I did have pictures to preserve that part of the building's history. Sometimes history isn't pretty. Oh, we got a lot of people saying that they used to study in the stacks and a lot of hours were spent studying there. Thanks for commenting, you guys. Keep it coming. On September 19th, 1982, during the centennial year of St. Ambrose College, the library was rededicated and named in honor of Bishop John McMullen, the founder of the college. The McMullen Building has faithfully served campus for many years and has changed many roles. All right, guys, get ready. We have another poll question. What was McMullen when you attended school here? Please give us your answer in the chat box. Give people a couple of seconds to respond. Classrooms, library. Oh, we've got computer science class, bookstore and library, classrooms and computer labs. Always been classroom buildings. Great, you guys. Thank you. Home of the Beehive. Oh, switchboard. That's a good one. I didn't know that. That's very cool. All right, here's one more fun fact about McMullen. In comparison to the other buildings on campus, McMullen has a quirky artistic flair. The building begs you to play a game of hide and seek. Entranceways are decorated with beautiful stonework designs and the official college seal. But then it gets a little weird. There's a gargoyle with a fish head, perhaps a mascot of the mighty Mississippi River? I don't really know. Underneath the fish goyle, you can see a fleur-de-lis, which strangely looks a lot like an ear of corn, the unofficial symbol of the Midwest, perhaps? So the next time you're over there, look up and check it out. That was a great glimpse into the archive's photograph collection, if I do say so myself. You can see why it is definitely on my favorites list. The photograph collection has all sorts of different subjects, including portraits, athletics, commencement ceremonies, buildings, and so much more. Some of the photographs are available online, and we are adding more all the time. I encourage you to take a stroll down memory lane while browsing through the digital collection. However, some photos are missing information. If you recognize someone in a photo, know the year, or the name of the event, please tell us. Any information you can provide is greatly appreciated. This next piece has a beautiful frame and a great story. This certificate for double entry bookkeeping was awarded to Lee J. Doherty in 1897. After earning this certificate, Lee went into the insurance business and became the founder, president, and chairman of Guaranty Life Insurance Company in Davenport. Later, Lee served as mayor of Davenport from 1918 to 1920. In 1916, he was appointed to the St. Ambrose Board of Directors. He functioned as the college's financial advisor and even led several capital campaigns. He was one of the first two recipients of an honorary degree given by St. Ambrose. St. Ambrose gave Lee the tools he needed for a successful career. This enabled him to give back to his surrounding community. He embodies the philosophy that St. Ambrose serves as the heart of the community by providing the necessary skills to help yourself so that in turn you can help others. This certificate is a great reminder of our founding principles. Speaking of foundations, let's take another unique object in the collection. The cornerstone and time capsule from Ambrose Hall. For those of you that attended the summer talk Mysteries of the Ambrose Hall Maze, you might recall the haunting words that were spoken at the cornerstone ceremony. If you missed it, let me happily recreate it for you. In July of 1885, dark clouds rolled in as 2,000 onlookers watched the cornerstone of Ambrose Hall being laid in place. Mayor Ernst Clausen attended the ceremony and stated the oldest in the crowd could remember when Indians roamed the beautiful grove. A small metal box was set in place, and the cornerstone was blessed with holy water, sealing historic secrets inside. In 2013, the cornerstone was removed for renovations and the time capsule was discovered. Lots of paper documents were discovered within the box. No gold, no coins, no treasure, just paper. But for archivists and history enthusiasts, those paper documents provide a wealth of historical treasure. There was a dedication program from that day, local newspapers, Catholic journals, and a couple of catalogs from the college. It is a glimpse of that time period as witnessed by primary sources. You will notice that some of the documents are badly discolored. Many believe that discoloration is from paper dye that bled when it got wet, as the time capsule box wasn't sealed or waterproof. However, I regret to inform you that is probably mold. Mold comes in a rainbow of colors: green, black, white, brown, and even that weird color we see on the documents. You will never look at mold the same way again now. Looking at these documents, you can see spots with white fuzz and brown-black little specks, true signs of a moldy biological infestation. Because many people are allergic to mold, including myself, I never get these documents out. These documents are stored in Mylar to somewhat contain the mold. They are housed in a different box, one that is archival quality and not a metal preservation nightmare like the time capsule. This is truly a rare look at some of our history that I'm happy to share with you. On the subject of cornerstones, we have another interesting object in our collection. This is the trowel that was used to lay the cornerstone of Christ the King Chapel in 1952. And here it is in action. In this photo, Bishop Hayes can be seen with the very same trowel loaded up with mortar during the ceremony. The stone is ready to be lowered in place while prominent religious figures from near and far eagerly watch. After further research, it sounds like the ceremony was a great success. Nothing out of the ordinary happened as far as I know. So why are we talking about the trowel? What is so special about it? Interesting story. This trowel was used by Bishop Cosgrove to lay the corner of Sacred Heart Cathedral in Davenport in 1890. That's right, it was reused and repurposed for two ceremonies that were 62 years apart. There are inscriptions on both sides to commemorate the events. If that didn't impress you, hopefully the next little story will. Let's look at something our sports fans will enjoy. For the first 50 years, our sports teams were simply known as the St. Ambrose Saints. In 1937, students started a campaign to change the name to the Big Oaks, the Ambrosian Oaks, the Buffaloes, yeah, those big bad grass eaters of the prairie, the Sac, both referring to St. Ambrose College's initials and the Native American tribe that inhabited the area, the Blue Tide, or the Fighting Irish, due to the large Irish population on campus. Wow, that is a really random list, and each one seems to be a far cry from our beloved bee. It wasn't until 1940 when Warren Lage suggested the bees. He argued that the qualities of the bee, such as its industriousness and its ability to sting, would exemplify the characteristics of our athletic teams. This was brilliant and quickly voted on. And of course, St. Ambrose is the patron saint of bees and beekeepers. You will not find a more terrifying bee mascot than what we had in the 50s. That bee is the stuff of nightmares. In 1962, the Student Council decided that our mascot needed a name. The winner by a landslide was Barney. Thankfully, with a nice name came a pleasant facelift, and the bee costume evolved into something more friendly. Oh, someone says that I wore the one on the right. Yes. While the mascot became more friendly in appearance, he didn't really look like the St. Ambrose bee logo or our actual mascot. Before 2017, he sort of looked like the Honey Nut Cheerios bee or a strange yellow dog. Sure, we all knew it was supposed to be a bee, and while we loved him because he was our own, he needed to change. In 2017, Barney got a makeover to match our logo, and he is looking fine. He is the spitting image of our logo. The costume pre-2017 is now housed in the archive. I have no idea what happened to the 1950s bee costume. It was last seen in the 60s, and God, I hope to never cross paths with it. That thing is scary. Next up, we have student and faculty ID cards from our very own Father George McDaniel. He graduated with degrees in history and philosophy in 1966. In 1974, he returned to St. Ambrose to serve as Dean of Students and the Associate Director of Development before joining the history faculty in 77. More importantly, he wrote A Great and Lasting Beginning, a book of St. Ambrose's history. This short little blurb doesn't fully describe all of his achievements, but I'm not here to sing his praises of his long, successful career. These small ID cards represent a much larger collection. Over time, Father George McDaniel has donated his personal collection of archival materials, including his manuscripts, publications, correspondence, notes, memorabilia, and the list continues. Ultimately, he shared his story. As Ambrosians, your story is worth saving for future generations. I encourage you to consider donating materials from your time here to the archives. I saw a cool fact last week about St. Ambrose. Did you know that we are ranked number 19 in best colleges for veterans? Which brings us to the next artifact on the list. This is a Vets Club jacket. The earliest record I have for the Veterans Club was the 1950s. It was a social organization for veterans of the armed forces. They were very active in the 60s, hosting dances, picnics, and other campus activities. I love how the emblem is stamped onto this jacket. It's not embroidered. This isn't the only textile we have in our collection, but I thought it was a neat example and wanted to share it with you. You've sat patiently through this whole presentation, waiting for the last two items on my list. It is homecoming, and that means it's time to get out the buttons. Pop quiz. How many homecoming buttons are in the collection? Please type your answer in the chat box. I'm eager to see your guesses. And we've had great participation in the chat box. I'm seeing things come 50. Ooh. Any other guesses? 62. Oh, we've got two 62s, 200, 75. Oh, okay, all right. Well, physically, we only have 42 buttons in the collection. But if you said never enough, then you are correct. I would love to have 200. Thanks, Jim, for that. Let's work for 200. While we have a list of buttons that we do have, I don't actually know what buttons we are missing. I do not know which year we had buttons for homecoming and which years we didn't. Getting a new button that we don't have or didn't know even existed is always really special. It might be homecoming, but it sort of feels like Christmas for this archivist when that happens. And finally, everyone's favorite, the beanie. It used to be a St. Ambrose tradition for incoming freshmen to purchase a felt beanie. Incoming students were forced to wear the beanies so they could be identified as freshmen. If they were caught without their beanies, upperclassmen could punish them. Freshmen were made to count bricks on buildings or even get down on all fours and bark like a dog. In 1969, Edward Rogowski, at the time Dean of Students, put an end to the tradition. This brings us to our final poll question. Did you have to wear a beanie? Did you love it or hate it? Type your responses in the chat box. Oh, we've got a no. No. Any yeses out there?
Did you see Bob Ward in 1959?
1959. Wore and still have. Great. Okay. Thank you guys for participating. Let's see. Okay. I've heard rumors that some people are buried or want to be buried with beanies. Any of you guys want to do that? Anyway, I think that is great. I believe that when we die, we go to a time when we were happiest. For many of you, that is your time at St. Ambrose, meeting lifelong friends or your significant other. Maybe these were your best years because you recognized that your college education enabled you to create the amazing life that you have today. Wow, we looked at a lot of different materials. recalled fond memories, and even learned some new facts. Now, I would like to invite you to ask me your questions. If I don't know the answer off of the top of my head, I will follow up with you as soon as I can. If you think of any questions in the future, please don't hesitate to contact me. This is what I'm here for. So come on, guys, ask your questions.
Jim had asked if there is a way they can access an inventory list of the archive items.
Oh, that's a great question. The answer is yes and no. So if you are interested in a specific collection, I can share that inventory with you, and I'm happy to do so. Some of the collections in the archives, however, do not have inventories, so can't share what I don't have. But yes, if you are interested in something, please contact me. I cannot share for security reasons our database, but like I said, if you're looking for something or if you want to know if we have something, please contact me. I'm happy to help.
Bob asked, what about the barracks?
Yeah, we have photographs of the barracks. So if you're interested, let me know. Is there anything specific you wanted to know about them? They were torn down. I'm sure you already know that. Actually, a note on barracks and a project that's coming up. I'm getting ready to put together the 2021 archives calendar, and we did select a photo of the barracks to include in the calendar. So be on the lookout for that.
When a new item comes into the archives, what's the process of adding it to the collection?
Yeah, that's another great question. So when you guys donate materials here, what I have you do is I have you complete a memorandum of gift, which is just an agreement saying that, yes, you're giving these objects to me. Then what happens is the materials get sorted into two different categories. The first is archival material, which is all paper-based material. Generally, we create an inventory, which is a list of every single item in that collection, and that gets recorded into my database. If it's objects, the objects are cataloged and numbered, which means that in the database, we describe the physical appearance of the materials. So like we describe it in a way that you could choose that one object out of a lineup of 100. And then we attach a number to it and we store it in the archive. And this is how we track all of the materials in that room, because there's actually quite a bit of stuff in there. And when people come asking for it, we need to know how to find it, and we also need to know what we have. So that's a really great question.
What is the most recent thing someone has donated?
Oh, okay. Just last night, someone dropped off yearbooks, and inside the yearbook was a third place ribbon for track and field, I believe. So that was just last night. But last week, this one I really like, someone donated a large panoramic class photo from 1957, and it has both ladies and men. So pretty excited about that one too.
When did Davis Hall change from an all boys to an all girls?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know. It would have had to have been after 69, because that's when we became co-ed. Great question. I'll try and find that. I don't know if I have that. Does anyone know? Does anyone here know that answer? I'll do some searching and I'll get back to you on that. That's great.
What is on your wish list of items that you'd like to add?
I do not have a class ring. I would love to have a class ring, but that's okay. I'll wait. I will patiently wait. That's at the top of my list. Always looking for more photos. Always. I love photographs. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. No, that's true. Photographs are a snapshot of that moment in history, and they are a great primary source, an invaluable source of information.
Are prints available of Father Cattich's paintings?
Oh, that is a good question. Not through me. You can get prints of some of Father Cattich's paintings through Paul Herrera and the Art Legacy League. So do a Google search for Art Legacy League, and you will get where you need to go for that.
Is the O'Keefe Library nameplate in the archives?
Ooh, awkward. Yes. Outside of the building, there was a slate with the library name, and I have it. I don't get it out very often because there's some controversy involved there. Let's see. I was in Davis Hall in 85, 86, and 87, and it was all boys at the time. Now it's a girls' dorm. Okay, so we know after 87 sometime it was converted. We're getting closer. What other questions do we have? Oh, 2000, okay, we've narrowed it down. 2001, it was all girls.
So it looks like somewhere between 87 and 2001.
Yeah, the 90s. Good times.
What's your favorite item in the archives?
That one is a really hard question because it all depends on the day. So one of my favorite photographs is actually someone is dressed up as a unicorn for a theater performance. I don't remember the individual's name off the top of my head, but I found that photo when I was working, like I just started here, and I was working with my intern at the time, and I found it, and I thought it was just the best anything ever. It was majestic and comical at the same time. So that's my favorite photo. Another one of my favorite objects was, it's a football. I'm not really a sports person, but I love this object because I had an information literacy class come in. And of course, I'm given my little spiel about donating things to the archives photos. And this kid runs back to his room, calls his dad, and asks if he can donate his like championship football to the archives. And he did. He came back like right away, and he was just so proud to contribute to that. And I was really touched. I love seeing students that care about the history and their contribution to this university. So that is also one of my favorite objects. Great question.
That's wonderful. Bob, Wendy put a link to the Art Legacy League website in the chat for Father Cattich's prints, if you are interested. So if there's any more questions, we'll kind of do a last call for questions.
Do you have any diplomas? I have a couple, but not as many as I would like. But I understand that, you know, diplomas are very personal, and it's something that you should be proud of because not many people have them. So I can wait until you're ready to hand over your diplomas. Yeah, give your diplomas back to St. Ambrose, please, when you're done with it.
That's a great question, Jim.
Yeah.
Well, we want to thank everyone again for joining us today. As a reminder, additional homecoming activities are still occurring throughout the weekend. So if you visit www.sau.edu/homecoming to get the details and the links for some of the other events that are happening. In addition, there's more alumni events that will be virtual so that we can reach out to farther than anyone that comes, that is local, especially in this abnormal time, I should say. Thanks again for joining us today, and enjoy the rest of your homecoming weekend. Go Bees.